Peace. Singular salute. I'm Lord Matre, the hip hop futurist. You're now tuned into the Super Longevity Institute podcast. This evening, I have a very special guest. She's a Venus Project participant, and she's a cancer survivor. Ladies and gentlemen, Jennifer Huse.
How you doing tonight?
How you doing? I'm so glad to hear to have you on because you know I want to get people who talk who beat cancer, and I want to talk to those type of people. But you're very special because not only did you uh had a bout with cancer and beat it, but you also are a transhumanist, and you were very close. You're an advocate for the Venus Project, which I really respect, and I learned a lot
Thanks.
from the late Jack Fresco. Peace to all the Venus Project people. I read that book, The Best Money Can't Buy, changed my
Yeah.
life. I had to put that. If I show you that book, the pages are ripped off. That's how much I read that
Yeah.
book. Yeah, that book changed my life, and I needed
Yeah.
that type of information in my life. But can you tell us what type of cancer you were diagnosed with?
Yeah. Yeah. I had what was called complex endometrial hyperplasia. So my stuff originated around my endometrial lining. Uh, I wasn't able to shed my endometrial lining, so for a long time I wasn't getting my period,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of people didn't catch what was going on. So what actually happened was that wind up turning into cancerous tissue. So,
Mm-hmm.
uh, but it's kind of more than that.
Wow.
um, yeah, yeah. So it was a pretty, I mean, I say crazy situation, but it's not really that crazy because so many crazy things happen in healthcare here
Yeah.
in the United States. So,
Yes.
you could be doing fine and you get sick and it just decimate everything.
That's right. That's right.
you
Yeah.
know, you know.
That's
So,
right.
I know there's countries that are worse than here, but
Yeah.
there's a lot of countries that make it a lot easier to get proper healthcare without having to have your finances decimated,
Yeah.
and things like that, and the stress of going through all that. It's crazy. It's crazy,
Mm.
really.
Wow.
But uh, but yeah. So I'll say fortunately that I was a transhumanist, and not just a transhumanist. If I have to look back at what my oldest passion was since being born to this planet was definitely in life extension and human biology.
Mm.
So you know that I've had with me since I was like 5, and I
Mm.
happened to be in a lot of circumstances, weird circumstances, where I got to be exposed to a lot of things that other people may not have been exposed to when it came to biology. Um, my mother got
Mm.
poisoned by pesticides,
Mm.
and she was told by mainstream medicine that she was going to die.
Mm.
So we actually wound up when I was very young at a clinic. Just like a little kid. I don't even, we're talking little, like between 5 and 7. So um, we actually wound up at a clinic where they only took people that had been written off by mainstream medicine,
Yeah.
that there wasn't anything that they could do for them anymore.
Mm.
And it was all kinds of people that were there with all kinds of different conditions, not
Mm.
just, pesticide poisoning and things.
Mm.
And so as a little kid, I got to see all these people that lived after doctors told them that they weren't going to live.
Mm.
you know,
Wow.
and it kind of changed the way that I thought about things, because I started to think from a very young age when it came to health, that maybe when doctors were saying there's nothing they can do and you're going to die in this, maybe it's just that they didn't know what to do.
Right.
you
Right.
know, so I think a lot of people weren't exposed to that.
Mm.
And then, fortunately, also, one thing I got taught when I was little was how to speed read. So I was able to get a lot of information in
Mm.
out of books. And so that was helpful. I read nonfiction books. things that had to do with human biology.
Yes.
You
Yes.
know, I wanted to find out what was going on. Why was everybody dying? Why is
Yeah.
everyone dying? Why? What's the reason? So, you know, I read a lot of stuff about that from a young age too. And then initially, when I was going to school, my intention was to go into oncology. So I did read a lot of stuff about that and work on some independent studies and things like that that had to do with that. Even though I changed the direction of what I was doing later on, because I kind of got to where I felt like if I was going into it, I might either just be prescribing chemo or radiation or surgery or researching it. And I wasn't sure that the research would be the research that I was looking to do, if it was just more of that, you know. So I went into rehabilitation for a while, but that doesn't mean that I stopped studying, you know, things that had to do with it or anything like that. And then I was pretty fortunate to have that background, actually in rehabilitation too, because I had a lot of cell and molecular information from thinking about going into oncology. And even though rehabilitation and physical therapy, which is what I started going into, was more of physiology, you know, more muscular focus, and that's cell and molecular background was actually very helpful. And the clinic that I was working in for a very long time, they really care about their patients a lot. And they really are always constantly trying to find the least invasive, you know, least expensive, least invasive help, you know, that they can do for people. And it's amazing the things that they were able to accomplish there, that people hadn't been able to do before. So that was a really good experience. That was more so in bone repair, tissue repair, muscle repair, you know, getting back quality of life and flexibilities and stuff. It wasn't like working on cancers and things like that, but it was still a lot of progress with the human body. So that was helpful. You know, so all that, when I did start getting sick, and I had always been what would be considered very physically healthy. I never really got sick. Was very strong for my size. I did a lot of fitness training, mixed martial arts, things like that. And then so when I started getting sick, it was kind of, you know, strange. Just basically, one day I started bleeding, and then I just didn't stop. So you just didn't stop, and I just kept getting more and more and more. You know, if people are squeamish about health, they're gonna hear some stuff right now. But this is a health interview. I had sometimes 40 blood clots the size of my palm coming out a day. You know, different things like that. And I was going to doctor after doctor, having test after test after test, with no health insurance, by the way. So, yeah, none of this. So tests here, you know, things here, emergency room visits, because I didn't know why so much blood was coming out. But then doctors to try to find out, you know, because they don't do that much at the emergency room. They'd be like follow up with whoever, but these different things are, you know, happening. I'm having all these tests, and people were telling me everything is fine. All your tests are fine. You know, there's no way I'm fine. Like, you telling me my blood work fine, but I'm showing you these clots. I'm telling you what's happening, you know, and just all kinds of different doctors. I wound up somewhere about 40 doctors, 5 hospitals in 3 states and 2 countries. I went to my husband's home origin of country at one point getting tested there. It was cheaper for me to get a full panel of blood work, anesthesia, surgery, and an overnight stay there was cheaper than getting blood work here.
Wow, with me.
Yeah. So Yeah, and then the other part of it was not just people that was supposed to be knowing what they were doing in these different fields, just not knowing what was going on.
Mm.
Uh, you know, why am I bleeding? I'm having ultrasounds. I'm having the things that I'm supposed to be having done, and you're telling me nothing's wrong.
Wow.
Like it's unfathomable, And then
Yeah.
on top of it,
Wow.
the things that these people said, these practitioners said, not all of them, some of them were nice, but some of them, on top of not knowing what they were doing, was like, they're mad at you for not knowing what they're doing. They talking to you while you sick and going through this. They're telling you it's in your head. They're telling you you're gonna die. I can't tell. Doctors telling me get your affairs in order. I said, well, how you telling me to get my affairs in order? Oh, well, because what's wrong with you? You're gonna die. And I was like, but you haven't diagnosed it. You literally don't know what's wrong, and you telling me I'm gonna die. How could you tell me I'm gonna die?
Wow.
You know what I mean?
It's
All this
crazy.
stuff that you're trying to deal with while you dealing with the pain that you're going through, worrying, the financial stuff, because you can't work as much, but the bills is like 50,000 times what your other bills are,
Wow.
you know, already. And
Excuse
people
me.
telling you,
Scary shit.
you're gonna die. People telling you this. And I tell you what, if I didn't have the way they break it down, they were trying to give me a hysterectomy, cut everything out, maybe give me chemo, maybe give me this, da, da, da. But this is before I knew what was wrong. Okay, so I gave you the
Oh.
diagnosis when I first came, but they didn't even have a diagnosis yet.
Oh my
This
gosh.
it passed all these doctors. It was on like the 38th one, I think, that I got a diagnosis, and his bedside manner was like, he fine for a diagnostician, but my God. And
Not
then
surprised.
finally I got a good doctor after that. But it was like, all these people saying all this stuff to you, and if I didn't have the background that I did to know that they were full of shit,
Right. Right.
I might have gone down this path that these people do, where they would have cut all my insides out, this, that, whatever. They be cutting people's insides out that want a bunch of kids.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or just a kid, not a
Yeah.
bunch. You know what I mean? But whatever, for no reason.
Right. Right.
You know what I mean? They don't even know it. But the way they telling me, they had me just, cancer gonna be riddled all over your body if you don't do this, and you're probably gonna die anyway, even if you do cut your shit out and do
Right.
this and whatever. So fuck you.
Right.
Like, and it was really crazy. And to sit with doctor after doctor after doctor like that, and your brain is like, come on, Jen, this information. It's okay. Like, that what they're saying is not, that's not how it works. Like, da, 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 da. It was still scary. So I can't even imagine all these people that they just take them and operate on them and medicate them and radiate them and till they
Um.
die of it.
Let me ask you. So you were married when this happened. So your husband obviously was a great support system for you. Who
Oh my God, that man's an
who?
angel on this earth.
Shout outs to him.
Thank
Cause yeah,
God. I can't
shout outs to
even.
him. That's very
He
important.
never once did anything but love me and be kind. There was times
Yeah.
I couldn't work, you know what I mean?
Wow.
He saw me go through it, you know what I mean? You don't, when you feel like you see blood all over, you know what I
Mm,
mean? This,
mm,
that. There could be somebody that'd be like, oh, whatever, that's not hot. Or, oh, I don't want to deal with this. You can't work as much right now. Like, or whatever kind of superficial reason. You
What's
know
your
what I mean?
husband's
But
name?
Sasha.
Sacho. Salutes to you, bro. Good job.
Yeah, man. Yeah,
Salute.
man. He
Salute.
don't care. He was like, whatever we gotta do, we gotta stop working. If you gotta go, we had to go to different states because the treatment that I used wasn't allowed in our state. It
Damn.
wasn't accessible. You know what I mean? So we had to stop our businesses, stop our life, and go
Oh.
so I didn't die. You know what I mean?
Oh.
He did it. He could have been like, wait, you want to take this mainstream treatment? I don't, or
Yeah.
non-mainstream treatment. I mean, you want me to stop the? He could have anything. He did
Yeah.
nothing, none of these things. You know.
Wow. Shout outs to
I
him.
mean, but fortunately, even the way I met him, he had been volunteering for the Venus Project for about 2 years before I
See.
even started. And
See.
yeah, and I met him. We worked together for years. Then
See.
we became good friends for
See,
years, and then finally we just kind of went from that to dating, to engaged to married. So he's always been like this. He's
can
just
I
that
ask you?
kind of person.
Let me. Can you tell the people what the Venus Project is? See, I'm not
Oh yeah,
surprised. I'm not surprised because they have a strong moral compass over there at the Venus Project. So
yeah,
tell
man.
people what the Venus Project is for us real quick.
Yeah, so the Venus Project is it's a new social direction, a proposal for a new social direction. It's in regard to the operating systems that we have on the planet to this day. Right now we have a lot of unnecessary death and suffering and hindrance to progress because we're keeping a lot of operating systems that are from our past, and now they're not compatible with the technology and information that we have anymore. They're antiquated, and so what the Venus Project proposes is that we upgrade our operating systems to get rid of these divisive, archaic systems that are still in place,
Mm.
and to use the methods of science to repair the earth, which we have estimated that we can repair the earth within 10 years if we apply sciences toward remedying what we need to. So what we want to do is restore the earth. We want to preserve it. And then we no longer want to put in systems or work under systems that are oriented for profit. Right now, we have things that are oriented toward profit, which is a system that humans invented. And at one time, it was when we were in a scarcity. We didn't have information. We didn't have technology. We didn't have the ability to do these things. And so this was put in as a means to try to make things easier. But now that we have the information and technology that we have, it's actually become a hindrance to us. We are ignoring things that are hurting human life
Yeah,
and the life of the planet because we have profit at the height of the operating system.
that's
So
right.
what we propose is to upgrade those operating systems to have people, the health of the people and the health of the planet, all people,
That's right. That's right.
and the planet at the uh, at the height of our operating systems, and not to keep any in place that are causing harm
Um,
to people or the planet.
who are the founders of the Venus Project?
Jacques Fresco and Roxanne Meadows.
Yeah. Rest in peace to Jack
Yeah,
Fresco.
yeah,
Rest in peace to
yeah,
Jack Fresco. Okay.
yeah, man.
I just want to give people and shout outs to Roxanne Meadows. I
Yeah,
really,
she's still
yeah,
holding on. She's carrying on their
yeah,
life's
yeah,
work every day.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, I'm glad that you mentioned your husband as a strong support system because when you're in capitalism, people tend to act really. They have we gain our values from the dominant society, and
Yes.
people like to run out on people when they sick.
You ain't
You know,
kidding.
so
If they
yeah,
People like to run out on people, because not even just sick, financial loss. You get with someone at the end, they had some kind of financial way, and then they lose a job
yeah,
or a house or both or something, or they get sick on top of it, and like, I don't want to take care of somebody. Oh, I was only with you because of this certain level of lifestyle.
yeah.
That's
Yes,
yeah.
I definitely
You
understand the
got to go
importance of
through it. You know what I mean? You love
yeah,
people. You got to go through what you're gonna go through. This is Earth. You don't
yeah.
know what you're gonna have to go through.
Question for you. When you first heard the diagnosis, what was your mental state? And do you? This is a two-part question. And I was talking to one of my boys. Shout out to my boy Sean. Keep fighting. I got you.
Mm.
Um, he said that a lot of people ask him to pray his way into healing and accept God. And he said he was getting tired of it because one of the
Ah,
brothers that he know that had a really positive outlook passed away. I think he passed away today. Rest in peace to him. I
damn.
don't know the brother's name, but rest in peace to him. And
Mm.
so what is your your background as far as beliefs as like the idea that the soul, you have a soul that might you know carry on. You carry on to the afterlife, like. And do you believe in God? And what was your mental state? Were you prepared to fight?
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
I have a very diverse background. I got raised very religiously, if you could call it that. I actually got raised in a doomsday cult. So
Oh,
it was very strict,
oh wow! I never knew
very
that.
religious, and very immersive. And I was three generations in, born and
What?
raised, and kept away from almost everything else for a very long time. So,
Wow.
yeah. So, when I left that, it's a cult. So you leave, you lose everybody, kind of
Yeah.
deal.
Wow.
And they make it only be them, and then when you leave, you lose everybody, and it's by
Right.
design. So it had a very bad taste in my mouth about religion after that. Um, and another group of my family and also friends and stuff were like spiritual but not religious.
Hmm.
So I definitely
What's the distinction? What's the distinction
uh
between spiritual and religious? What you know? Because a lot of people like to say that. I'm not
I
religious.
think a
I'm
lot of it's
spiritual.
terminology.
Yeah.
I think a lot of things are terminology across
Mm-hmm.
the board, really between religious, spiritual, and scientific.
Mm-hmm.
Except, science likes to have replicatable tests for the things that they talk about. So, but maybe terminology like instead of using God, they use universe
Yeah.
instead of using
Placeholders. Yeah, they're just
certain things,
placeholders.
and
Yeah.
there's also a difference between organized religions,
Mm.
and also like a belief in God or Jesus and things like that. But
Mm.
yeah, so it used to be I kind of I've had a lot of fluctuations, in thought after leaving that. You don't know what's going on. It consumes your whole life, and then you're like, what? Do I
Yeah.
hate all religions? Do I still believe in anything? But science was one of the most helpful things,
Mm.
because really, despite all that, the thing I still wanted the most was life extension for everybody.
Mm.
Healthy life extension. You get rid of all the sickness and diseases.
Mm.
So science was very helpful with that because at least in the religion that I was around, um, anything like that was playing God, and stuff like
Mm.
that, and only God would be able to take away sickness and death, and that was really hard to deal with. And it isn't even just that belief system. There's a lot of belief systems. I think there is 2,300 known religions, active religions
One question though.
in the
Do you?
world.
I'm sorry to cut you off, but do you? I
Mm-hmm.
want to. I want to because I had the brother on. The brother that wrote "The Soul Is a Fallacy" on. I don't know if you've seen it. "The Soul Is a Fallacy," but it's so
No,
many.
but I heard it. I heard
Yeah.
of it. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. I had the brother on. I can't remember his name. Sorry, my brother. But so I want to know: do you believe that the soul, in the idea of a soul that'll take you to an afterlife after you die, specifically? Before we move on.
Uh, I'm not sure I have any beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
Belief is a big word to me.
Mm-hmm.
Belief means I feel really strongly about things.
Oh, okay.
If I say I believe in it, so I'm not sure. I'm more so concerned with extending our life that we have here.
Okay.
I have no idea what happens.
Okay. That's okay. Okay.
you
Right.
know,
Right.
uh, there seem to be a whole lot of different theories about it.
Yeah. Okay.
And to me, whatever anybody wants to believe that helps them feel good about leaving here, I have no idea what happens.
Okay.
You know,
Okay. I just wanted
that
to.
I can't tell you. That I can't tell you. I
Okay.
don't know.
Okay. That's fine.
you
I
know,
just
I,
want. That's
I I
fine.
think the only time it's upsetting is when people have belief systems about what happens after you pass away from this body that we're in, and they getting violent about it and pushing it on people, and stuff like that. And you got to believe what they believe about it. Or that you don't want to explore into science and making life be healthier because only God can do that.
Yeah, I mean,
Individually, fine. You don't have to get into it, but just don't do stuff to
right,
stop other people because of
right.
it. Other than that, I'm like, it's fine. I don't care what you believe. Just let's try to just love each other while we're here and,
Yeah, I say
and,
that.
and make stuff better.
I ask that because usually people who believe in this. See, I see a lot of death because I see people take their last breath on their deathbed, and a lot of people they talk a good game up until that point.
Yeah.
Up until that point, you don't talk enough. And I'm talking to everybody that's listening or who will be listening. You talk a good game until you're on your deathbed.
Yeah.
Then you want to, all of this soul belief all these soul beliefs you have, that be put aside when you want to have more life. And usually people who believe in an afterlife, meaning that they think that the earth is a waiting room for an afterlife. They don't have to. They don't have. They don't have too much of. They don't have too much concern with life extension research. Until they're on. Until you see them on their deathbed. I've seen so many people with the type of fear you will never see.
Yeah.
Until that situation, until they're in hospice on their deathbed. So people,
man.
I want you to think very clearly about these ready-made ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Think very clearly because our life is our stake. Okay, our lives are our stake. But go ahead, Jennifer. I just want to throw that.
Yeah, and that's kind of the way that I looked at it since I was little. But not everybody have the same perspective because everybody got a different background and experiences that shape them to the way that they think. You know what I mean? I just was taking a look around, like, so you saying nobody really makes it past 100, and for some reason everybody body breaking down at the end there. Okay, why? But yeah, so so at least I'll say with my diagnosis, it was isolated in one area. It was in my endometrial area, and mine was the stage right before cancer. So it was advanced pre-cancer.
Okay.
And it was the stage right before cancer. And they were concerned because it was all over. And I also had ovarian cysts that were popping and things like that. So they were concerned that since it was all over, it was going to turn at any minute. But then because of my background and knowing what that meant, I knew it was isolated in my endometrial lining, which meant I could just have that removed without cutting out all of my insides. I also had some time to try what I wanted to try before I entertained anything more serious, which was to go try the heavy concentrates of the cannabis oil. So that diagnosis for me was, everything that had to do with it is scary. Excuse me 1 second.
Sure, take your time. Yeah, we're getting into it.
But I guess not as scary, maybe, because of my background.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, it wasn't necessarily that people that I was, the practitioners I was seeing agreed with me to go and take this approach. But at least the ones that I had were wonderful. Apparently, what I had should have been diagnosed very, very early on, because what had happened was my entire uterus was filled with endometrial lining, a whole thing. And so it was just awful, and it was always inflaming. I would go from a completely flat stomach to looking like I was 9 months pregnant in a couple of minutes. And the pain from that would like stretch your whole back and muscles and spine, and all the bleeding and just all this different stuff. And eventually I wasn't even going flat no more. So uh, you know, she didn't understand why nobody picked it up on the ultrasound or the test or anything like that, because she was saying that it could have been avoided way earlier on and never had to, never had to turn into anything this bad. But, at that point, it was what it was. So, again, they wanted to do a hysterectomy to prevent uh, anything worse happening, da 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 da. But when I found out that it was complex endometrial hyperplasia, it was called complex endometrial hyperplasia with atypia. Atypia is, atypical cells. That's what it had progressed into. But complex endometrial hyperplasia is just, you aren't getting the signal to that area to shed your lining. So that in of itself is not so terrible to cut out your insides. If you can, there's other things you can do. You can force yourself. You can take progesterone. You know what I mean? Things like that to force yourself to shed it without cutting out your hormone center.
Right.
So, I had a lot of that in my head. Definitely was not looking to try to add anything else like chemotherapy or radiation into it when I was already having cell signal issues. So I had done a lot of research on these high concentrates of cannabis oil. It wasn't available in New Jersey, so we went out to Denver for that. And
to a dispensary in Jersey.
There was nothing in Jersey to treat
I'm sorry, in Colorado, dispensary in
Oh
Colorado.
Denver.
Sorry,
So it was not
Yeah.
to a dispensary. I went
Okay.
to a medical facility out there. Colorado has it very integrated into their medicine already. Colorado and California both do, but Colorado really does. So I went to a doctor's office out there, and they gave me a caregiver who would specifically make the treatments for what your condition was. So, for example, if you had a skin cancer, you might be rubbing salve all over it and maybe taking drops by mouth. But if you have what I had, she gave me vaginal suppositories and drops by mouth because it was isolated in my endometrial and ovarian area.
Right.
Well, not even ovarian. I wasn't being treated for the ovarian cysts. Like I went out there for just the cancerous tissue. Right. But as a lovely side effect, all the cysts went away too. Right. Yeah. And those things are brutal when they burst, man. So anyway, so they referred a caregiver. She was amazing. So she made vaginal suppositories for me. And drops by mouth. And then I was on that for 3 months. And I basically could already tell it was better before I even went for the test because everything felt better. I mean, I felt better than I ever felt in my life before I was even sick. And I was healthy before that and strong. So this was really interesting to me. And then when I went to go to the test, I went and scheduled them to take the endometrial lining out anyway, just to look through the whole thing. And then, to have everything else checked out and stuff. And there was no unhealthy tissue at all, nothing. So something that was riddled with all this cells that are about to turn over and then cysts all over my ovaries and everything, the doctors couldn't believe. The surgeon was like, there's no unhealthy tissue, none.
Like, wow. Question for you. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Jennifer, but
no.
Before we go any further, so they gave you highly concentrated cannabis oil. Did this have some THC in it?
Oh yeah. So the one that
what's the difference between this and the cannabis that I can get on the corner?
Yeah. So the cannabis that I was taking was considered to have a 1-to-1 ratio of THC to CBD. The reason they have that, THC has been demonized along, with this plant, and you need all of it. Really,
Yeah.
you need the
The whole
whole
plant.
plant.
Yeah.
Because every component of the plant works on a different aspect of our neurological system. It helps to open up our neurotransmitters so the signals can flow properly. You know,
So the
yeah.
cells can
So
communicate with each other. What you mean, right?
right, and
Okay.
then as far as just getting the plant though, like just smoking the plant is not enough. It's okay if you want to just have it to, maintain your levels throughout the day, how you feel. You stay feeling good and creative and energetic or whatever. Help if you have anxiety, depression, or you're some kind of symptoms. Maybe nausea, something like that. But
Right.
but it's not
We prefer
enough
you to vape it or
to.
eat edibles, though. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not enough to actually reset your neurological system.
Okay.
So what I found out from going through these medical experiences is something that I may not have figured out
Yeah.
if I didn't go through it and actually be on the patient side, uh, of going through this. And uh, it, so then after it helped me with all that, I started looking more into the research that's going on around the world. But the difference is that this is concentrating the plant down into really high amounts. So you're getting way more than you could ever smoke. That kind of thing, smoking, vaping, something like that, that might be okay if we're already at the levels that we need. But if we're sick or just, whatever, these really high concentrates, what they do is they reset your entire neurological system. So now everybody's a little different. We're all different size, different weights, different exposure, different this. That's with anything in healthcare. You have to look at each individual and see what their levels would be and this and that. And there's not a whole lot of this in mainstream healthcare yet.
Yeah.
But uh, these high concentrates, that reset my neurological system. And our neurological system is our operating system of our entire body. People are looking at, different smaller aspects like genetics. They look at, oh, how come telomeres are shortening? How come the mitochondria have, damage and this and that? Those are all indicators of what's going on in our neurological system. That's our electrical frequency. That's that light that goes out when people die. It's because your body's not conducting the electricity anymore. You know what I mean? Our electrical systems are neurological systems. People think that's just in our brain and just our spine. It runs in between every single cell that we have, and in the cell, there's a signal that connects the trillions of cells that we have, and it runs through it too.
It's
So
a communication system, right? Throughout the
yes, that's
body.
the operating system of the whole
Operating
body. It
system.
operates the
Right.
genome, it operates everything else.
I see what you're
And,
saying.
and, and that's why people look at cannabis and they look at the studies that are coming out and different things like that, especially since we've been lied to so long and they've been telling us that, it does damage to your brain and does this and that and whatever kind of stuff, and it's all literally the complete opposite. But, that's why they want to know how come it can work for so many things. How come it can work for so many cancers? How come it can work for seizures? How come it can work for, every kind of thing? Is because the neurological system is the reason, like a deficiency in our neurological system is the reason that everybody dies. It's cell signals,
Question.
everything,
Interesting.
you know?
Yeah. So the cannabis you take had extra cannabinoids.
Yeah. So it was concentrated down.
Can we tell people
There's
what the
a
cannabinoid that like? What's the what's the
there's a
significance of having extra cannabinoids? Because this is a
yeah.
teaching. I want to make sure people
Yeah, so
are
what you
following.
want to do, depending on what's going on with you, there's all stages of levels of cancers, like again, seizures, malfunctions of this, malfunction of that, wearing out of this, inflammation of this. What you got to do is get enough in your whole body that it can go through your whole body and correct all of the signals that are in there, and that's going to vary. So yeah, so I think I had passed over to you different research, a couple thousands of articles broken down about how these cannabinoids work in small amounts in these tests. But they're not using anywhere near like what I use. So what I had been researching was there was a gentleman named Rick Simpson, and he has a site called Phoenix Tears, and he had put out a free recipe for everybody and a bunch of testimonials about everyone using it at this high concentration. And what it is a pound of cannabis put down into oil, and it's delivered to people over 3 months. So basically, the caregiver I was used that recipe, except instead of ethanol alcohol, she had used food grade alcohol because it was less, it's better to work with that. But it's not available everywhere in the world. So I put, I think, the most available alcohol in there. Yeah, and yeah, there's a lot of rumors about things, actually even now a lot of historians are looking back at some of these old transcripts where they used to talk about Jesus and the anointing oil. And if you believe in Jesus or anything like that aside, it's just that in many of these old texts, there's mentions in different areas across different belief systems about this oil that was helping with these different conditions, like people that weren't able to see, a lady that had been bleeding and wouldn't stop. And I'm like, that's me. I'm the lady that was bleeding and wouldn't stop. You know what I mean? Like blindness, leprosy, which is neurological. They're all neurological. Anyway, so so there's these rumors of these oils, and looking at the recipes that they have about into it, they actually believe that it is 6 to 9 pounds, which would be like 6 to 9 times what I had. And I'm like, my brain, when I started like reading that, was like, if that's true, that's probably like one of the key components of immortality. Because my sister had a rare autoimmune condition that only 500 people in the world have. Under 500 people. They don't even make medicine for it because not enough people have it. So they throw everything in the book at her. She had it for 20 years. Every kind of medicines, and they put cancer medicines. They put things when she didn't have cancer, everything to try to kill this autoimmune condition. She was on 36 medications a day. When she moved to Denver and she got on cannabis oil, she stopped all of them. Oh, wow. She didn't change her diet. She didn't change her exercise. She didn't do anything. The only thing she did was do the cannabis oil. And she lost 80 pounds and got her 36 medicines.
Wait a minute. What was it? The Rick gentleman's cannabis? What's his name?
Let me give you the website here. Hold on 1 second. Rick Simpson.
Is Rick Simpson still alive?
Yes.
I need to get him. Rick Simpson. I need to get you on the Super Longevity Institute show. We need to talk. I'm gonna get him on the show. And I need his
website. Is Phoenix Tears.
I've seen it before.
PH.
Yeah.
OENIX. TEARS.ca.
Interesting.
There's a lot of people that have some sites up. If you type Rick Simpson, that's not his. So, they're trying.
Okay.
People.
He's doing something right. Yeah. People are trying to rip the guy off.
Well, he gave his stuff out for free to help people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a great testament of the power of what was already in it. He said I'm gonna be a prophet and I'm not gonna take any profit.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is. I mean, I think he wrote a book that people could buy, but that. Yeah. I mean, that was it. Like that didn't have. He wasn't keeping the recipe from anybody. That was something else that he wrote. But yeah, so Yeah, he helped a lot of people. And so, really just looking at it and what it did for me, the thing is, then looking at it, what it did for what's called, an autoimmune condition, which is a disease of the neurological system.
Right.
Your neurological system sending out the wrong signals. You know
Mm.
what I mean? Looking at what it did for her, then looking at all this research. There's so much research, and they're just thinking about upping the concentrates of it and stuff. And then what happened to me was after I dealt with that, the day that Jacques died, we were there,
Mm.
and the next day I got bit by an ant, one ant. And I grew up in the South. I lived in Louisiana, Florida,
Mm.
volunteered in the South, did whatever. Uh, and I've been bitten a bunch of times. So I got bit, whatever, and within 23 minutes, I was almost dead. Uh,
Wow.
the doctor at the emergency room said if I was there 10 minutes later, I wouldn't have made it because the rapid anaphylactic shock, it was so fast.
What the?
And I had no EpiPens. I didn't have anything like that because I never had anything like that happen before. And this was actually apparently a new thing that was happening down there from some new strain of ant. It don't matter how healthy you are.
I'm staying in the city.
You get bit by, you get exactly. I know, man. I'm like, oh my
I'm
God,
staying in
they
the
crazy
city,
down there.
man.
Woo, this is scary.
You
Uh,
get hit by ants and
I don't like no
things.
bugs, man. I do not like bugs,
I'm
man.
staying in the city.
Woo.
No animals, no wild
Oh my
insects.
God. I know,
I'm
I know.
sorry, yo.
So this is one, but it was like it don't
Just
matter. It
one
don't
ant.
matter if you healthy.
Oh
And
man.
so then the day Jacques died, I almost died. I mean, everything. I couldn't see no more. My throat was almost closed. I had these weird rashes all over. Everything was swollen up. Uh, and so that happened, and I had after that uh, neurological problems.
Wow.
So then the very next day, I forgot. The very next day after the ant, so that's why I stayed this week too. A brown recluse spider bit me on my lymph node here, and for 4 months I spent highly concentrated time every hour of my day trying to keep it from burning out of my flesh on my breast and back because there was nothing they could do for it except tell me to ice it, take antihistamines, and take a leave.
Where did you get bit by a spider? So I don't have to. So I know not to come there. Where were you
South
at?
Florida, Florida,
I'm staying out of
Florida,
Florida.
Florida.
Florida, you got gators, spiders, insects. But Trey stayed out
big,
here.
big flying cockroaches,
No, no, no.
everything.
I'm staying out here.
Uh, but
That's
and
crazy.
so then I was able to manage that, and I went back to Denver and put salve all over. And really, that was the thing. One of the things that helped the most. I had to figure out some stuff because all the advice that the doctors gave me in regard to that was not working. So I had to figure out other stuff to do with it. Um, and then
Wait, before we go on, tell people what salve is because they might not know.
oh yes,
We don't leave
right.
nobody
Sorry,
behind.
it's like a very concentrated lotion
Okay.
that you're using to address anything that's on the skin,
Hmm.
any type of skin
Concentrated
cancer or
lotion
issue.
meaning with cannabis in it.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
There
It
we
was
go.
like 3,200 milligrams.
I need to put some aside because if I get bit,
Yeah.
I gotta
Oh
rub
my
some of
God.
that
So,
on.
they were telling me to use
Bam.
cold and they were telling me to take the antihistamines and take the Aleve. And what I finally had to do was put almost scalding hot water and massage it out hour after hour. That was the only thing that gave me any relief at all. And I was,
Wow.
for months trying it the way they were doing it. It was bright red. It just always constantly looking and feeling like it's gonna burn through. It was intense.
Hmm.
Uh, and so, so then I got some relief and then I finished it off still. Like I said, I went and got the salve in Denver.
Hmm.
But then I was having these neurological issues, and then the doctors were starting to throw stuff at me like, autoimmune and, take, steroids and take, these these other anti-inflammatories, things that I know that I have a lot of really toxic side effects. That stuff was starting to come out. And I was like, listen, I'm just going to go do what made me feel really good when stuff was already going wrong first. Like, I'm going to try this first before we go down these roads that do damage that you have to repair from that too.
Right.
They
added to the problem.
Yeah, and then we still didn't have access in New Jersey. We got a little bit better access, but the price of it was so ridiculous to try and get it out of a dispensary here that it was literally like 6 times the price. And, we were in the middle of projects and different things. We're still recovering from the other health stuff, still no insurance, and we was right in the middle of, we just bought a house and we was working on it. We had like all the stuff done to it almost, and everything. And then it's just really got to a point where I got so sick, my joints just started swelling. My elbows were swelling, my knees were swelling, they were bruising. I couldn't walk. I was on like 5 weeks bed rest, just staying in bed. It was crazy, and it didn't do anything. So finally, it was just too much. So, but then this time we went out to California because my sister is out there, and so this time, well, we went out to Oregon actually and stayed with a friend. Because Oregon was where the cheapest where you could get the oil. And so we went out and stayed with a friend there thinking it would only take 3 months. But we got this from a dispensary also. We didn't have a caregiver. And so it didn't finish it off.
Jennifer,
so then,
question. I don't want, before you go on, how do you get, how are you able to go to the dispensary and buy stuff? Because I'm interested in purchase, because I got a Levo 2 and a Magic butter machine now.
Oh yeah, that's good. They're
not even open yet. How do I get my hands on
something? They
something?
gotta have it at the dispensary. So the dispensary gotta have this stuff. They call it 1-to-1 ratio oil. You can look at it.
Do I need a special health card? Is what I'm saying. Like, do I need to?
It depends where you're at and how your state is. So this is like
why. So it's hard. It might be harder for me to get in.
If not, if they don't have it, if you can go in it, you can get the plant, right? And then that website that I just gave you for Rick Simpson, it'll tell you how to make it yourself.
I can't just go to Jersey and go in and get the dispensary.
No, you still can't go to Jersey and get this. So that's why we just went to California. We went to Oregon to stay with our friend, and then it didn't finish. So we were stopping our businesses, stopping all of our stuff in the middle of a global pandemic, by the way, doing all this stuff and whatever. And then we had to prolong it because we went down to my sister's and stayed there for a little bit long because we still couldn't get it in New Jersey. So we went there, and then that finished it off really good. And then looking at that and how sick that I was and how I was going to the dispensary. So this was not as strong, not nearly as strong as the caregiver. It was like 300 something milligrams, and the caregiver in Denver had me worked up to like 1,500 milligrams. That's why.
Was you getting high off this stuff? Was it giving you a high?
It
was more cannabinoids than it was THC.
No, THC is a cannabinoid. So
it is a cannabinoid. Okay.
Yeah, so it was 1-to-1 ratio. What happened is they start you with like about half of a short grain rice to start. And then they just build it up a little half of a short grain rice, like 3 times a day, so that you can function. Because people they aren't all just taking off. They got kids, they got work, they got this, they got that, all different levels. So not really. If you take over the dose, you might feel it, but it'll just wear off.
Oh, okay, that's good.
You know what I mean? That's the thing. Like the thing with this medicine versus other medicines is the more that you get, the better. So, you work yourself up. And once you get yourself to where your levels are, you don't feel anything except good every day. You feel just a little bit better every day, a little stronger, a little more energetic. Your head feels clear. If you had any brain fog from being sick, that goes away, everything. And there's no toxicity. The only way there's toxicity is some of these synthetics that they're making now because they're trying to patent a plant,
right.
And some of them are hurting people.
Yeah, you're trying to patent the plant, and this goes back to how dangerous capitalism is,
It sure
and
does.
pro
It sure
and
does.
just adapting the value system of
Hmm.
capitalism. The bottom
Yeah.
line is money, not people.
Yeah.
This is the problem.
Exactly.
This is the
Hmm.
problem. And
You look at how they've been demonizing this plant since the Nixon administration.
yeah,
You know what I mean? We've been suffering, putting people in cages,
mm,
killing people, wasting their whole damn life over a plant,
mm,
and lying to people, telling them it's bad for them, telling them it does this, telling them it does that. When this is probably right now the best medicine I have ever seen. I'm
mm,
sure, yeah, maybe there's something in the Amazon, some things and stuff we don't know yet that might be even more concentrated. I'm sure,
yeah,
but this thing works on everything.
yeah, yeah. New York State, y'all got to get yourself together. Um, the mayors,
Yeah.
I don't hear the mayors. They shaking hands, kissing babies. Listen, y'all got to
Mm.
get it together in New York State. I'm sorry, y'all got to get it together. I'm really tired of the same BS with the same care for. They got the same stupid slogans. They taking
Yeah.
photo ops. We tired of y'all.
It's a crime against humanity,
Yeah.
really. At this point, there's so much information that's out here about what
Mm-hmm.
this does all over the world. Israel been one of the countries that been studying this the most. Every single person in Israel has a cannabis
Yeah,
prescription
I think. Yeah,
covered
yo, you're not
because they
lying.
found out they the one putting
Yo,
out the
yo.
biggest
Oh,
studies.
yeah. I know that because I interviewed somebody from
Yeah,
Israel about cannabis. I didn't put it
yeah,
out yet.
they ain't fucking
I said,
around.
"Oh, yo, Israel ain't playing." I said, "Yo, what the hell's going on?"
Yes,
I said, "I might
I
have to go to Israel."
know.
I said, "Yo,
Israel ain't playing.
yeah,
They
that's
found out
true."
originally, I think, if I have it right, originally the reason they got so interested in it a while ago was autism. They wanted to fix any autistic kids. And then when they got into it, they were just like, because they don't have the restrictions that we had. So they
Right,
just was like, went crazy. One
right,
of these studies on, well, actually on Netflix, they got this show called Weed the People. It's really good. It's all medical stories, and it's all like little kids. It's medical stories, and doctors and scientists and researchers all over the world. They got these researchers from Israel, man. They were
yeah, I know.
like,
They're
the
killing it out there.
endocannabinoid system, they're like it is involved in all disease and death,
Right, right,
all
right, right.
all
Yeah, yeah, I
and the
know.
endocannabinoid system is
Yeah.
completely intertwined with our neurological system. So when
Mm.
we get these cannabinoids that we need, it helps work and get that all through your body, getting all the signals right. It's the signals, everything.
Man, cause I seen the Surgeon General what's that guy's name? The Indian dude. I got a bad memory. Um, I forget his name, man. But he went to Israel. And they was smoking through he went to a hospital. They was giving cancer patients the volcano, the vaporizer, the ill
Hmm.
volcano. So they
They
won't,
making vaporizers now. They're making asthma inhaler stuff for
This is
COPD,
crazy.
everything, because it cures your lungs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That smoke cure your lung. It don't give anybody cancer or anything like that. It heals it. It's just, the smoking,
If you're doing it through the vaporizer, that has.
even smoking, even
Mm,
regular smoking, it's
you
just
think so?
maybe unless you wrap it in something that's toxic or whatever. But there's other ways to smoke it. Yeah,
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
it cures it.
Mm-hmm. No way. So well, wow. So
Yeah.
what do you say to other cancer people that's fighting cancer today? What advice do you have for them? Shout out to my brother Sean. We with you, bro. We gonna get it. We gonna fight together. I
It's
want.
so hard, you know what I mean, just because of the way the society is. But if you have it, if you can, like, I mean, I'm not trying to dispense medical advice to anybody and
Right.
tell them to go to,
This is a
against
disclaimer.
their doctors.
Yeah.
Disclaimer, disclaimer.
This is a disclaimer.
Tell them to go against their doctor's orders
Yeah.
or anything like that. But
Get your doctor
just for
support.
me, it's very, very worth looking into the very high concentrates of it,
Mm,
to see if you could use that at least in conjunction with it.
right.
If you're not going to do it instead of chemo and radiation, it's just that chemo and radiation, they have a lot of effects. And listen, I'm not saying people haven't lived through it, but there's different ways now that's non-toxic, or at least use it in addition to what you're doing so that it can repair you and keep your liver clean. Because if you're dumping any radiation and chemo in there, you try to keep your liver clean. Things, talk to your doctor about milk thistle, coffee enemas. People might be like, ew, enemas, but you need to keep your liver clean.
Shoot, yeah. I'm taking a
you
coffee
know,
enema if I'm sick. I'm sorry.
yes,
I
that
ain't
shit,
care.
and
I mean,
it's really good. It's
shoot.
really good for you.
Yeah.
For stuff like that, because what happens is when your body's malfunctioning, you really need your liver cleaned out,
Yeah.
because you have to keep
Definitely.
everything circulating and excreting out of you, especially if you put in any kind of additional toxins into you. Your body only works on its rhythms, and it needs some support. If you have all that
Well,
kind
thank
of
you.
stuff.
I want to show a picture of you that you sent me, if it's okay with you. It's the one with
Oh
you in
yeah.
the stretcher.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, that was
Can,
before somebody, a couple people was like, "Why are you smiling?" And I was like, "I already knew my test was gonna be fine." This was right before
yeah.
she went and cut out all my endometrial lining and looked at all the the ovaries and did all the blood works and stuff like that. I knew it was gonna come back fine, because I knew how good I felt.
Wow.
You know,
This was a great
everything
picture.
fixed. All the swelling went down. I had swelling like crazy. All the pain was gone. All the swelling went down. I know my
Wow.
body.
Yeah,
I
no
knew
doubt.
what I felt like.
I have another one too. With you and Jack Fresco, the
Oh
late Jack Fresco.
yeah.
Can you tell us about this
Oh my
picture right here?
god. Oh, I was sick that day.
Oh,
Actually, I
I
was
should have asked
really
you
sick
if
that day.
I was going to show these pictures. I'm sorry. I should have
Yeah,
asked you
no,
before.
you can show them. I
Oh,
was
okay.
really sick that day. So we were just this is before I got to go to Denver, and I always went down there. I've been volunteering for about a decade now, I guess. My husband been volunteering about over a decade, 12 years maybe, whatever.
Shout outs.
I would
Same.
go down all the time and help Roxanne try to, because Jacques, he passed away at 101. So at the end there, he was very strong and very healthy. But
Yeah.
the end there was, starting to need some help, and I would try to go down and help as much as I could with Roxanne and everything, because Florida and New Jersey, just jump on a plane or whatever. But that day I was really sick actually, and so we were just laying in bed and watching tech videos and George Carlin and laughing and stuff like that. And
What
I
was
just took a
Jack
little
Fresco
picture of
like?
us. Oh man,
On
he's the
outside,
best.
he seemed like he just
The
like
best.
stories like me, like you. This is the founder of the Venus Project. I'm gonna put a link in the description. Just if you don't know, I'm sending this out to all the hip hoppers. If you don't know about the Venus Project, please. It's cool. I see a
Yeah,
lot of y'all
yeah,
interviewing
man.
just different celebrities and stuff. That's cool, but just do the knowledge on the Venus Project, please. When I send it, I'm
Yeah.
gonna send a link in the
And life
description.
extension is too,
Life extension
life
also.
extension is too,
Yeah,
because he worked his whole life on this for
yeah,
everybody. You know what I mean? It's for all people. It ain't for a little bit of people, some select people, because of this and that and that. And it's to stop having funding interfere with science, and
yeah,
stop having funding interfere with progress. You know what I mean?
yeah.
In a way of all this, we looking at, how can we fix sickness and disease, and we're always looking at how can we get the funding for it. You know what I mean? It's like we need to be worried about, can we do it, do it.
Well, I just want to
People
say this.
dying because of money.
We gonna if anybody out there is a cancer survivor and used some unique thing to beat it, even if if you was on chemotherapy, if you had 4-stage cancer and you beat it, I would like Maitreya One would like to bring you on the show, the Super Longevity Institute show, and I would like to hear your story. Any cancer survivors,
Yeah.
at any stage, Maitreya
Mm-hmm.
One at Super Longevity Institute would like to see you. My email is you can reach me at, you know what, you could reach me at Maitreya1@gmail.com. MAITREYAONE at gmail.com. I want to hear your story. I want to bring you on the show.
Hold on,
Jennifer,
sorry.
that's all right. That's fine. We're about to head out. If you have anything else to say, you was a great guest. I'm glad I have you on, and I'm glad you beat the
Thanks.
cancer.
Yeah, man. It's
And
I learned a lot, and I'll tell you what, that neurological stuff was no joke either. You know,
Wow.
so but it's all neurological. Cancer is a disease in the neurological system. People aren't saying it yet, but that's what it is. It has to do with the signals. They're not telling the cells to to commit apoptosis, and so
Cell
they just
death. Right.
then they
Right.
ain't getting the signal. So they replicating, and they're not going the way that they're supposed to do. So we got to correct those signals.
No doubt.
And now we got something that corrects our signals. We never had really a neurological repair or protectant that was healthy.
That's right.
Nothing. Well, we didn't even have one that was unhealthy.
Mm.
The neurological stuff, they don't have a lot of help in that area. So now we do, and it's just a matter of making sure that people can get it. It's a plant.
No doubt.
It shouldn't be these laws on it and all these restrictions by money, nothing. Whoever should be able to get it should be able to get it as on a higher concentrate as we need.
No doubt. And that includes today's show. We talked about the power of medical marijuana with the cancer survivor, Venus Project advocate, Jennifer Huse. You can always come back anytime, Jennifer Huse. I know you
Thanks.
got a lot going on. A lot of
Yeah.
great things going on. We out.
Yeah, man. Yeah. All right. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah.
Peace.
All right.